Hi everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Behind the Post. Our next guest is the head of social media at SUSE, a leading open source software company. She has more than 8 years of experience in social media marketing and is passionate about bringing human-first approach to social media marketing and helping tech companies tell their stories in a unique and authentic way. Please welcome our guest, Niki Kostova, to the show. Niki, are you ready to go behind the post with me?
Yes, let's go.
Amazing. I'm so excited to have you here and jump into this episode. But before we jump into everything video content, please can you give our listeners a brief introduction to SUSE and what your role entails?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to be here with you today. SUSE, as you mentioned, is a leading open source software company that basically what we do is we develop and offer Linux container management and edge computing solutions. And we empower our customers to have a choice, avoid vendor lock-in, and innovate everywhere with open source solutions. And as to my role, I'm head of social media. I'm overseeing SUSE's overall global social media presence across a wide range of platforms, like including LinkedIn, X, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everything really that we are active on. Yeah, that's basically what I do.
Amazing. So now that we've got a bit more of an introduction to the company and yourself, and I mentioned before that this episode we're going to be focusing on video content for social media. So my first question for you is, what made you pivot your social strategy towards video content?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think with video content, we are all hearing this hype for years now that we need to have video content. Everyone's watching videos. Obviously, it's been out there on social media, and we keep on hearing that videos are so important. And for us, it really we try to really measure the how videos are working for our audience, because I think the technology landscape is just such an interesting in such an interesting topic in social media, and with videos it can be a little bit more challenging just because it's a heavy topic, and we can get longer videos, and we are also a remote company where it has been a huge challenge for us, especially after obviously the pandemic, where we all were working from home and we are located in all over the world basically. It was such a challenge for us to get people in one place and to really get those recordings in place, and people were kind of a little bit hesitant to do video recordings, virtual video recordings, which is understandable. So yeah, it's been a challenge for us, and we really try to put a lot of efforts in educating people what, first of all, what best practices for virtual recordings, like lightning, sounds. Do you wear big headphones? Do you take it off and maybe try something a little bit more um, invisible? So yeah, all of those little things that are really important for us, that were a challenge for us. We really took our time to try to educate our video participants or spokespeople for the company. And yeah, it's engaging. Video content for us has been very engaging for our audience. We know that people's attention span is short, and we're all busy. I wouldn't sit down and watch a 20-minute video, to be honest, and as I'm sure you wouldn't do.
Yeah.
So we are really just
Yeah.
trying to plan in advance, and see if, even if it's, we try to be more natural, but also plan in advance what we are recording, what the topics are, and we take every opportunity that we have. So, for example, if we have an event that we know that a bigger part of the company is going to be there, we just get some key spokespeople that we know that we want to do content with, and we create as much content as possible.
Amazing. That's so interesting to hear how you do it. And you have live events and you have the people speaking to the camera. And you said before about keeping your audience engaged, and video content is so popular, especially now more than ever, to keep your audience engaged online through LinkedIn as well. But it's finding that balance of like, okay, it can't be a 20-minute video because people are too busy. So like, what's the right amount of time for you and your brand,
Yeah.
and finding that like perfect balance of where that should be. But for our listeners who haven't seen, do you mind quickly giving us a brief explanation of what your videos tend to look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing we started doing as a tip maybe from my experience is, as I mentioned, we used to get these longer videos where there's such important topics that we talk about, but then 20 minutes, 10 minutes, it's long enough. So basically what we started doing is we started cutting those into shorter snackable pieces for social media, and basically we space it out. If we have a 20-minute video, we might cut it into 2 minute short snippets with the most important things that people are saying, and then space it out for a few days or even a few weeks if it's longer. But to be more specific on how those look like, I mentioned a few times that we record a lot of personal videos featuring spokespeople. That's one of the key things that I want to do, and that I'm putting my efforts and strategy on, is giving our people a voice. So that might be a little bit different than what we are seeing with those polished animated videos, which are great, but then I like to be more authentic with my strategy, and I like to give our thought leaders their voice and to show their faces and really see that see the face behind the company, the face behind the product, the solution, whatever it is. And we say, I like this saying a lot, people trust people, and I think in especially in B2B marketing, this is so relevant and so important. So if I need to sum it up, we feature people a lot. We try to be personalized, authentic, and very people focused. We try to be as short as possible. If the video is long, we cut it in short snippets and then space it out for a longer period of time, which also fills our content calendar, which is always nice as a social media managers. Yeah. And as I mentioned, we plan in advance, try to get as much content as possible when we have the opportunity to meet people face to face. But then also for virtual recordings, we take the time to educate our video participants on best practices.
Yeah, amazing. You took the words right out of my mouth. As the whole time you were speaking, I was just thinking in B2B, people trust people more than they trust brands. And I was thinking it as you said it out loud. And I love how you've combined this with your video strategy. So you're saying you want to have these authentic videos where it's people behind the brand in front of the screen and in the video. And you're continuing to put these people at the heart of your social activity in an engaging way. So what made you've kind of mentioned it a bit, but I'm wondering if we could go a little bit more in detail, but what made you decide to focus your videos on people and not solely branded content?
Well, I mean, it's for me, what I've seen from obviously how our engagement is going, and as most of social media managers, I keep track on how engagement is going on, and of course I use Octopus for that, and really helpful to see how it's going. And we have done tests with videos that are more animated or that kind of more branded content, and then a video with a person, and definitely the video that features a person that's authentic always brings the best results for us. And I always try to do this kind of a test and measurement before I make a conclusion for myself and for my strategy moving forward. But really, this is what brought us the best results once we started doing more videos, and we saw that people are really reacting to when there is a real face and a real person, and when it's not so polished, and you can see that this person is really talking from the heart, and is not fully scripted, and it really sounds authentic for the audience. It makes it really relatable to everyone. So that's really why we decided to focus more on people. We mentioned a few times, people trust people. This is what our results are showing, and this is what we are seeing is working for our audience. But again, my advice maybe always would be check what works with your audience. So maybe try a few things, try people focused try animated and see what works for your audience.
Definitely, all companies are unique, but I really agree with you though. In
Yeah.
B2B, people want to see people speaking because that's who they're trusting. So it's a good way for brands to combine that along with video content that we know is really
Yeah.
engaging, popular right now. So the next question I want to ask you is, what are your best practices for creating videos for social media?
So I mentioned one of that, and this is the length of the videos. As I said, in the technology landscape, this can be a challenge because we get longer videos. Usually, that's from my experience. That's what I've seen, and this can be really this used to be a really big challenge for us. And how we overcame it is with doing those shorter snippets and really trying to space it out and to um, get more focused on the most important things that someone is saying. Maybe even if we get a longer video, we can transition that into a blog post and do just a shorter snippet and then link it to the blog post. So all those kind of workarounds. But I would say length is really important, no matter how important you think your topic is. Maybe the audience doesn't have the time to sit down for a 10-minute video. For YouTube, though, this works. So the other thing we are doing is we would upload longer videos on YouTube and then take the shorter snippets and use it for LinkedIn. That's another way to do it because people are more willing to spend more time watching videos on YouTube.
Nice.
Another thing, we of course there has been a debate about whether we should go landscape or
But
vertical videos. So it's been portrait. So this has been a huge debate around the whole industry, really, not only in my company but the whole industry. And again, I would just go back to what I said before. Just check where your audience is coming from. See if they're mostly coming from mobile devices, then maybe portrait is the right format for you. If they're mostly coming from desktop, then maybe landscape is the right way to do it. So really, it's, as we mentioned, every company is unique, every profile, every audience is unique. So there are obviously best practices that, I mean, I don't even know. I'm not really a fan of best practice that fits all
yeah,
companies
it's hard to find
because I think
balance. It's different for everybody.
it is, yeah, it is, and you really need to find that balance for yourself. And the best way to do it is with testing. So never be afraid of testing.
Yeah.
Try portrait, try landscape, try 5 minutes, try 1 minute, try 30 seconds, try everything, and then see what works best for you. That's really what we've tried to do. And what last but not least, I would say, and something I really try to focus my whole social media strategy around is quality over quantity. So I don't want to post just for the sake of posting, just because today we have a quota and we need to post at least, I don't know, 2 posts on LinkedIn or even at least 1 post. I would prefer to skip a day rather than post every single day just for the sake of posting.
Yeah.
And I feel like this has been, in my experience, this has been a challenge to fill the calendar has been a challenge. Sometimes it's a challenge when it's a little bit quieter. Then there are busier times when it's not really a challenge. The challenge is the other way around. How do I fit all of this content in 1 week, for example? But then, really, if you feel like you should never feel like, oh, I have to post 100% no matter what I'm posting. I don't think that will work for anyone.
Yeah.
We should be really mindful and thoughtful of what we are posting and to choose. Of course, you don't want to abandon your channels. You don't want to stay 1 month without posting anything. Um, I I would suggest post. Maybe try, if you don't have the content for every single day, maybe try a few times per week. Make sure that you find the right content for you and make sure that it's relevant for the audience.
Absolutely. I think it's really interesting what you're saying. And I think it's so important, this quality over quantity. Just because there's so much you can push out, if it's not providing value to your audience, it's not going to help you build that engaged community. So I absolutely agree with what you're saying. And especially doesn't mean you should go radio silent for a month at all by any means. But if it's one day,
Absolutely.
there's nothing there, that is also okay. And especially with video content, that's time consuming. So if you can't
Exactly.
post 5 videos a week, that's also absolutely fine. And we're going to get
It's
on.
fine.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you a bit more about the content types you do. But before we do, in your opinion, what does a good video look like?
As I mentioned, I personally think for and what we've seen for our audience, natural, not so polished videos work better.
Yeah,
People find it more relatable and more relevant for themselves. So I would say don't worry too much that something is not absolutely. Of course, you need the sound to be good and people to hear what's happening. You need certain things, but then don't worry too much if there's something that's not absolutely 100% perfect.
especially if you're doing it authentically, because it looks more
Yeah,
natural. If it's just you've got a video of someone up there speaking and like you're getting the camera into frame, it makes the person feel like they're there. And as you said, it's not this polished video afterwards. So I agree with that as well.
exactly. It doesn't need to be a person in a suit, very polished, very kind of unapproachable look. We need to be approachable. We want people to see that we are of course, as an open source company, for me, if I'm talking about SUSE in particular, as an open source company, for us it's very important to position ourselves as open-minded, approachable, really giving choice to people. And that way, the only way to do it is really showing how authentic our people are and
Yeah.
how we are not this huge polished corporation. We are people first company for sure. So that's really what for me and for our audience has worked so far. Um, Another thing I would say um, that's important is to add subtitles or captions to your videos, and I think that's very important from accessibility point of view, of course, but also very important for like we most of the times we are out somewhere on our phones and we cannot put the volume up. So it's very important to make sure that people can understand what's happening in your videos.
Absolutely.
So yeah, all of those things I mentioned before, lightning, um, it's important, sound is important. Do your testing and see what works for you. Maybe try to educate whoever is participating in that video what they need. If they need certain equipment, I wouldn't say that equipment wise, where of course we have more polished videos where we are using um, huge equipment and we have production company behind it and it looks very professional. But for the every day, if I can say every day, it's not every day, but for the ordinary social media content, for example, for the ordinary videos that we put out on LinkedIn, you don't need such a big equipment. Just a simple ring light,
Yeah.
microphone, camera works just fine. So don't worry if you don't have a very expensive camera and very expensive microphone, it will be fine.
I think that's also really useful to share because I think a lot of people, if they have all these like branded videos and which is good and they're pushing that out and it's the professional cameras and professional everything, some people might think, oh, well, we don't have budget to make videos or we don't have budget to scale up or we don't have the equipment ourselves to post more videos when we have this idea. So it's nice to know that you can do this mix and that's okay. And it's a good way to
Yeah,
get more video content. So how often do you post
absolutely.
videos to social media? Is it the main content type you post or is there like a mix?
So we do have a good mix of type of content that we post. We've tried to in this past year, should I say, we've tried to focus more on videos. So maybe input a video or two if we're lucky,
Yeah.
once per week. I would say it's a great it's been great for us. But we definitely have other types of content. So we have lots of blogs, for example. We do have lots of kind of single images where we're connecting with our blog post. So it's a good mix, but we try to really include videos at least weekly
Okay.
if possible. Of course, if we miss a week, it will be fine. But still, we definitely try to have a good mix of different types of posts.
So with that, how have you noticed that the video content has performed to the other content types that you post?
So for sure, video content has performed better than for example, single images. For LinkedIn, I'm sure most of the people have heard and have seen that LinkedIn recently updated how the link previews work.
Yeah.
So now the link previews are just very small and, in my opinion, don't look good at all. So we're trying to avoid using link previews, and mostly we've been focused on single images and videos. When we have the opportunity to do gallery posts with like more than one image, which is usually for events and for employee gatherings and employee news, stuff like this, these are also performing well. But if I want to go a little bit more into the numbers of it all, videos, for example, video engagement rate for the past quarter for us has been 6% compared to single image, which has been 4%
Oh, wow.
engagement rate. So it's definitely higher. Of course, we are pushing out a lot of content, and we need to take into consideration the number of videos against the number of single images. But still, video engagement rate has been much higher. And I mentioned already the gallery posts. It's been something interesting I found recently is that those gallery posts that are, again, mostly people on them. So we're just going back to that people want to see people on social media. Those gallery posts have also performed very well. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, the engagement rate for those was somewhere around 20%, which is
Wow.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So with that, and I can't believe we're already on to the last question, but the last thing I want to ask you is, what is the best piece of social media advice you've ever received?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. I love it. So, this makes me think of when I was starting my career in the tech industry, and one of the biggest concerns that I had is that I'm not a technical person. Like, I'm a communications person. I don't have technical degree. Um I just didn't feel comfortable, and I knew I would need to talk about tech. So I was very, very worried, and I've seen this happening to myself, but also to people that have afterwards joined my team, people that I have led, and they are always coming to me and saying, "Well, I don't really know about this technology," and it's all right to know about of course, we need to have some basics at some level, but the technology knowledge will come. And someone once told me, you don't need to be the technical experts. There are other people to do that. You need to find a way to tell the technical story in the most humanized way possible. And I think that was so powerful to me then, and really helped me so much, because I was really feeling that imposter syndrome coming to me. And that was really helpful for me at that time. And I think it can be really valuable to everyone that's starting their career in tech and in B2B marketing and communications, should I say.
Absolutely. I think it's such good advice for our listeners as well. Anyone in B2B, you might not understand the intricacies of like what your company is doing, whether you're working in finance or a law firm or tech, like you're saying. You just need to find a way to use the marketing brain that we all have and to translate that story in a way that people can understand it in a compelling story.
Exactly.
So
Exactly. And also, don't, oh, sorry for cutting you. I was just gonna say, also, don't ever be afraid of asking for help. Like,
yeah,
if there are developers, there are product managers, there are product marketing managers, there are all those people that can help you, and that have this knowledge, and can give you the best advice and explain to you how the technology works. So never be afraid to ask for help. And I'm sure, at least from my experience, people have been always open. Whenever you really ask for their help, people are open to, most of the times are open to explain to you. I
absolutely.
like to think that everyone should be open to explain to you when you're asking for help.
Yeah,
So
that's
hopefully that's the case.
yeah, absolutely. And also it helps you as a social media manager or a marketer be more productive, because then you understand what you're doing. So you know, and you'll have more confidence in your work that you're telling the story in the right way. But with
Yeah.
that, I want to say thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for giving an insight into your video strategy at SUSE. It's been amazing hearing everything. And I know this is going to be really helpful for anyone trying to perfect their video content, take it to the next level, even start out. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me.